Last week I posted a video in which I let you know that my wife and I had sold our 2013 Audi Q5 3.0T. It was a vehicle that we owned for 3 years and about 35,000 miles and enjoyed thoroughly in the time that we owned it. It was a great vehicle all around. It was stylish, it was fun to drive, it had a really great interior, very quick, and it was also incredibly reliable for us in the time that we owned it. And so it was a really great vehicle and we had a good experience with it over those 3 years. But our family's grown since we bought it. When we bought it, we were childless. We now have a 2-year-old and we've got another baby on the way. And what we found with babies is that they take up a lot of space. And the car seat situation is also very tight in the Q5. And so we found that trying to get 2 car seats into the Q5, a double stroller, and everything else that you bring around with you when you go places with a 2-year-old and an infant wasn't going to be all that practical in the Q5. So we decided it was time to sell the Q5 and get something a little bit larger. Now we live in a northern climate with a lot of snow and ice, and so all-wheel drive is a necessity in our next vehicle. My wife also wanted to get something with a 3rd row seat so we'd have space to take friends with us places or our kids' friends as they get older. So it kind of narrowed down the segment a little bit. And then I also wanted to get something that was decently fuel efficient. We currently have a 2016 Toyota Tacoma, which gets about 16 in the city and 23 on the highway in its base form. It's got a lift kit and oversized tires on it, and so I average about 20 miles per gallon overall. Not terrible, but not amazing either. And then we also have a 2018 Volkswagen e-Golf, which is an all-electric version of Volkswagen's Golf model. And so that vehicle is very efficient. It's kind of our go-to vehicle for commuting around town and going places when we're going as a family. And so nice to have that as an option, but because of that snow and ice, during the winter months, the e-Golf pretty much stays in the garage and we drive our 2 other vehicles. And so we don't necessarily feel like we have to get something super efficient to replace the Q5, but it'd be nice. So kind of try to narrow down the selection a little bit based on that, although some of the options that I'm going to share with you that we considered are not the most fuel efficient vehicles. So in total, I narrowed it down to 9 different options that I'll walk through real quick before I reveal to you the new vehicle that's sitting just over this direction. The first vehicle we considered as a replacement for the Q5 was the Q7. And the Q7 was kind of a natural option to consider because it took all the things that we loved about the Q5 and put it into a slightly larger package. With the Q7, you get a 3rd row seat, you get additional cargo space, and you still get all the great things about an Audi. Now, as much as the Q7 is really nice from the 1st to the 2nd generation model, I'm not as crazy about the 1st generation model, especially because it just feels kind of older and kind of less modern and advanced than the Q5. So I kind of felt like we'd be taking a step back. And so it really narrowed down our search to the 2nd generation model, the Q7, which came out in 2017. Now the problem with that is since they just came out in 2017, there aren't too many affordable options on the used market just yet. About the lowest that you can spend on a Q7 is $30,000 to $35,000 with kind of higher mileage. The other thing that we experienced with our Q5 is that they experience significant depreciation when they're newer vehicles. And so getting a newer Q7, we were basically guaranteeing that we would lose a lot of the value of the vehicle over the next few years. So a more affordable alternative to the Q7 is the Volkswagen Tiguan, which was another option that we considered briefly. With the Tiguan, you're getting a vehicle that's very similar to the Q7. Volkswagen actually owns Audi, and so it's kind of a smaller, less luxurious, less tech-filled version of the Q7. It's not as high-end overall, but it's still a really nice vehicle. It's still a Volkswagen. It comes with a pretty nice level of finishes and features, good fuel economy, and a lot more affordable. And so that was definitely an option that we considered as well. The third option was a Toyota Highlander. And with the Highlander, it's not the most exciting vehicle, but it's comfortable, it's very fuel efficient, especially if you get it in the hybrid configuration, which is the route that we would have gone if we went with a Highlander. It's got a very spacious 3rd row seat, and being a Toyota, it's got good resale value and pretty good track record for reliability. And so that was definitely an option that we considered. Next in the Toyota lineup, the Toyota 4Runner was a strong contender. With the 4Runner, you're getting a vehicle that's quite a bit more exciting and kind of bold than the Highlander. Not as practical, fuel economy is not as good, 3rd row seats not as spacious in the models that come with it. But again, it's a Toyota, so it's got pretty good track record for reliability, and the 4Runner has some of the best resale value of any vehicle out there. So definitely a strong contender. Next up after the 4Runner, you got the Toyota Sequoia, which is a larger version. It's got a more spacious third row seat, a lot more functional, a lot more cargo space. The real downside with the Sequoia is that the fuel economy is dismal. It gets about 13 in the city, 17 in the highway. But again, being that it's a Toyota, good resale value, good track record for reliability, so definitely made it onto that short list. Sitting between the 4Runner and the Sequoia, you've got the Lexus GX460, which was another option that we considered. We previously owned a GX470, and it was a really solid vehicle for us. And with the GX model, you kind of get the best of both worlds in terms of the 4Runner and the Sequoia. In terms of fuel economy, it's about the same as the 4Runner, but you get a little bit more cargo space, a little bit more space in that third row seat, and it's a really solid vehicle. It's actually sold as the Land Cruiser Prado in Europe. And you know, for the US market, they just kind of dress it up, give it a lot more luxury features, and it's also a really affordable vehicle in the scheme of things. You can get into a GX460 for about the same price as a 4Runner, and you're getting a lot more for your money. Now the resale value is not as good, and some of those tech features may be prone to failure a little bit more than getting a more basic vehicle like the 4Runner. And styling wise, I kind of like the 4Runner more as well. So definitely a consideration to kind of be in the mix. And then along with all of those, the Chevy Tahoe was a vehicle that we seriously considered too. I've always been a Chevy guy. I think they're really great vehicles. My parents have one that's been incredibly reliable during the time that they've owned it. They have pretty good fuel economy for the segment. You can get kind of an older Tahoe that's about 15 in the city, 21 on the highway, and the newer Tahoes get up to like 24 miles per gallon on the highway, so a lot better than that Sequoia sitting at 13 and 17. The last vehicle on the list that was considered very briefly, only because it's a very practical vehicle and really good for young families, was a minivan. And the only minivan on the market that has all-wheel drive is the Toyota Sienna. So considered that very briefly. I'm not particularly a fan of the styling on the Sienna, but my parents used to have an all-wheel drive Dodge Caravan, and it was a great vehicle in the snow. It was very spacious, really good for road trips. And if you just look at minivans, it's amazing just how the cargo space is really good, how they're really comfortable. They come with all these features that are catered toward kids and young parents. Having the sliding doors would be really nice in parking lots. The automatic doors especially would be nice. The entertainment system in the rear. There's so many good things about minivans. And so, you know, there was a piece of me that's like, the responsible thing to do as a parent would be to get a minivan, but being the car enthusiast that I am, I just couldn't do it. So of those 9 options, we narrowed it down to either a 2nd generation model of the Q7 or a 5th generation model of the Toyota 4Runner. And those are 2 vastly different vehicles, but I've got a wide variety of tastes, and I like both vehicles for different reasons. Obviously, because we liked our Q5 so much, the Q7 would be a really good option. Essentially, we're getting a larger version of the vehicle. It's got that third row seat, very premium feel to it. It's a lot of fun to drive. It's very fuel efficient. The only real downside being the fact that we know that we take a significant hit in depreciation, and although our Q5 was very reliable for us, there's definitely that risk that there could be some expensive repairs with the Q7. With the 4Runner, since we've been really happy with the Tacoma, really good natural option for consideration. My wife has always been a huge fan of 4Runners. I'm a huge fan of them. I think that they are such a cool looking SUV. They're very old school, very capable. Being that they're a Toyota, they've got a great track record for reliability, and then they're one of the best vehicles on the market for resale value. And so from an investment standpoint, a really smart decision in that sense. Between those 2 vehicles, we landed on a 2017 Toyota 4Runner SR5 Premium. So to get a 4Runner with a third row seat, you only have 3 different trim package offerings. You can either get the SR5, the SR5 Premium, or the limited model. None of the other trim packages come with a third row seat. Now, from a styling standpoint, I like the look of the SR5 more than the limited, and then we really wanted to have leather seats because of our 2 kids. and so it forced us down the route of getting into the SR5 Premium. I'll make another video in the future that goes a little bit more into detail on what you get with the SR5 Premium trim package, but it's essentially the basic version of the 4Runner with a few of the kind of basic luxury features. From a styling standpoint, with the SR5, you get a very basic wheel package, and just overall, it's kind of their base level 4Runner. So say you bought a TRD Pro, which is the top of the line model of the 4Runner. It looks awesome from the factory. It's got a really great suspension package. If you're buying the TRD Pro, it's kind of hard to justify spending more money to make modifications to the vehicle, to replace the wheel package, the tire package, the suspension, because it comes with upgraded options in all of those areas as it is. That's one of the great things about the SR5, is that it's the basic version of the 4Runner, so it's got a basic suspension package, very basic wheels and tires, and so it's a really great blank slate to start off with for modifications, which I think is going to be really fun to be able to kind of build up the vehicle into what I really want it to be, and it's going to generate a lot of content for the channel, which is good for you guys. Looking inside the vehicle, you'll see it's got a really nice interior. With that premium package, we get the two-tone leather seats. You also notice we've got a leather-wrapped center console, and then the doors have some leather accents as well. So it gives the vehicle a little bit more premium look and feel. And then just overall, especially for a vehicle that's really getting up there in age, given that the 5th generation was introduced for 2010, it still has a really great look to it. Very stylish, and just a nice overall layout. Go into the middle row, you'll see it's very spacious. Got one car seat in already, and legroom is a lot better than it was in the Q5. The rear-facing infant car seat takes up a lot more space, and it just barely fits in the 4Runner. And then looking into the back of the vehicle, you'll see it's very spacious, plenty of room for that double stroller. One thing about having the 3rd row seat is that the floorboard sticks up quite a bit more than it does in other versions of the 4Runner. Then the seat folds up out of the floor, and then we can pull this guy out. Hard to do with one hand. And you can see it's definitely on the smaller side. Not somewhere you'd want to spend too much time as an adult, but works for a small child. And even an adult can use it for short trips around town. So that's our new 2017 Toyota 4Runner. Really excited about this new vehicle purchase and looking forward to doing a number of modifications in the near future, as well as creating an abundance of videos on the 4Runner. To learn more about the 4Runner and to stay up to date on my modifications, make sure to subscribe. If you have any comments or questions, leave those in the section below. In the meantime, thanks for watching.